Maya's bare feet slapped against the hard, cracked earth as she ran. The wind picked up, sending dust flying around her, and her heart pounded in her chest. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the dry, parched landscape. She didn't look back, she couldn't. If she did, her father might catch up to her, and she couldn't let that happen. Not now, not ever again. She had grown up on this farm. It had been her whole world, the only world she had ever known. But over the years it had slowly become a prison. The land was dry, the crops didn't grow, and her father's anger seemed to grow with each passing day. She couldn't remember the last time he had smiled. Every time he spoke, it was always about how much the farm was failing, how much they were losing. It felt like he had given up, but not Maya. Maya had dreams, big dreams. She wanted more than this life of dirt and sweat. She wanted to feel the wind on her face, not the dust of the earth. She wanted to escape the heavy shadow of her father's disappointment. That was why she had made the choice to leave. It wasn't just the farm. It wasn't just the endless days of hard work and the feeling of being stuck. Maya knew something her father didn't. She had overheard his conversation with the men from the corporation. They had made an offer. They were going to buy the land. They didn't care about the farm or the crops. They wanted the land for themselves. To build something bigger. Her father, without hesitation, had agreed. He had said yes to selling everything that had once been their family's life. The house, the land, the memories. Maya couldn't let that happen. The farm was the last piece of her mother's memory, and she wasn't about to let a group of strangers take it from her. So she ran. She ran barefoot, feeling the heat of the ground through the soles of her feet. Her muscles burned, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. The horizon stretched out before her, endless and wide, and she didn't know where it would lead. But she had to keep going. The further she ran, the harder it became to see through the dust. It stung her eyes and her throat felt dry, but she pressed on. She had no plan, no destination, just the feeling of freedom pulling her forward. She didn't know what the world outside her father's farm looked like, but it had to be better than this. As she crossed over a low hill, she stumbled and fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Her legs ached and her head spun. She couldn't keep running like this. Not much longer. Maya pushed herself to her hands and knees, wiping the sweat from her brow. The wind had stopped, and the silence that followed was strange, almost too quiet. The land seemed empty, like it had swallowed up all sound and life. She looked up, squinting into the distance, hoping to see something, anything, and that's when she saw him. A man, a figure on horseback, coming toward her from the other side of the valley. He was dressed in worn brown leather, and his hat was pulled low over his face. The horse he rode was strong and steady, and the man sat upright, his posture relaxed but confident. Maya's first instinct was to run again. She didn't know who he was or what he wanted. He could be dangerous, or worse, he could be someone sent by her father to bring her back. But her body was too tired to run any longer. She collapsed onto the dirt, breathing heavily. The man slowed as he approached, and the horse stopped beside her. He didn't say anything right away. Instead, he looked down at her, studying her with eyes that seemed both calm and serious. "You all right?" His voice was deep and steady, not harsh, but full of strength. Maya didn't trust herself to speak. She nodded, too tired to form words. The heat of the day had drained her, and the pain in her legs was almost unbearable. The man didn't ask any more questions. Without warning, he dismounted and knelt beside her. He placed one hand on her shoulder, steadying her as she tried to sit up. "I'm Cole," he said simply. His voice was kind, but there was something firm about him, something that made her feel safe for the first time in a long while. Maya swallowed, her mouth dry. "Maya," she whispered, still not fully able to gather her thoughts. "What are you doing out here?" he asked gently, his eyes searching hers. "I'm running away," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. "I can't stay there. I can't. I can't let them take everything." Cole didn't ask what she meant by them, he simply nodded as though he understood. The land had taken its toll on everyone who still lived out here. People like Maya's father who were too proud to leave, too stubborn to see that it was all slipping away. "There's a camp nearby," he said. "A place where people are safe. You look like you could use some water and food." Maya wanted to say no. She didn't want to owe anyone anything. She didn't want to be a burden. But the truth was, she was too tired. She was too exhausted to keep fighting. She looked up at Cole. seeing the kindness in his eyes, and for the first time she felt like she wasn't alone. "All right," she said quietly. "I'll go with you." Cole helped her to her feet, and she leaned on him for support as they made their way back to his horse. As they walked, Maya looked back at the farm, the land that had been her home for so long. Her father's farm, the place she had dreamed of leaving for years. But now standing at the edge of it, she felt something different. A sadness, yes, but also a sense of release. She had taken the first step toward something new. It wasn't much, but it was enough. They rode together, slowly at first, making their way across the dry plains. Maya's mind swirled with thoughts of her father, of the life she had left behind, and of the uncertain future ahead. She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know where Cole was taking her or what this journey would lead to. But for the first time in a long time, Maya felt a flicker of hope. The dust in the air began to settle as the sun dipped lower, casting a soft glow over the landscape. Cole's horse moved steadily beneath them, and Maya's body, though tired, began to relax. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the rhythm of the ride, and allowed herself to drift into a peaceful silence. For now, that was enough. Maya's first few days in the rebel camp were a blur. Everything was new. Everything was different. But more than that, it was a relief. A strange, unfamiliar relief that she hadn't felt in years. The camp was tucked away in a hidden valley, surrounded by rugged mountains that seemed to protect it from the harshness of the outside world. The people here were different. They weren't like the workers she had grown up with on her father's farm, those who had given up and resigned themselves to the corporation's control. These people were fighters, tough, resilient, and full of determination. Maya had always thought of herself as strong. But here, surrounded by these people, she began to realize how much she had yet to learn. The first night she arrived, Cole led her into the heart of the camp. It was a small, makeshift settlement, built into the side of the mountain using whatever supplies the rebels could find. Tents were set up around a central fire, and a few small wooden structures housed the camp's supplies and living spaces. The air was thick with the smell of food, smoke, and dust, but there was something warm about the campfire in the center, something that made Maya feel, for the first time, like she belonged. Cole introduced her to the leader of the group, a woman named Grace. She was tall, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Grace didn't waste time with pleasantries. She asked Maya what she was running from, and Maya told her everything about her father, about the farm, about the corporate men who were going to take it all. "Sounds like you've had a rough go of it," Grace said after Maya finished. She leaned back in her chair and studied her for a moment. "But if you're here, it's because you've got fight in you, and that's something we need." The word struck Maya like a spark, lighting something inside her. She had always thought of herself as just a runaway, someone who had no real purpose. But Grace saw something different in her. It felt strange, but somehow right. "We don't have much," Grace continued, "but we've got each other, and together we're going to make a stand. This land will take it back. One piece at a time." Maya nodded, feeling a mix of fear and excitement swirl in her chest. She had no idea how to fight. She had no training. But Grace's words planted a seed in her mind. Maybe this was what she had been running toward. Maybe this was her chance to finally do something that mattered. Over the next few days, Maya spent her time learning the ways of the rebels. She helped in the kitchens, learned how to clean and maintain weapons, and practiced survival skills. Every day was hard work, but it was different from the farm. Here people worked together. They shared stories. They shared goals. And even when things were tough, they found reasons to laugh. It was during one of these training sessions that she saw Cole again. He was standing off to the side, watching the others as they practiced with their weapons. His presence was quiet but strong. There was something about him that made Maya feel like everything would be okay, even when it wasn't. She hesitated for a moment before walking over to him. He glanced up, his eyes meeting hers, and for a moment, they both stood there in silence. There was a tension in the air between them, something unspoken. Maya wasn't sure what it was, but it was there. "You know how to handle one of these?" Cole asked, holding up a long, sleek knife. His voice was calm, but there was a spark of something in his eyes, something that made Maya's heart race. Maya swallowed hard. She hadn't touched a weapon in her life, but there was something about Cole's presence that made her want to try. She nodded, though she wasn't sure how convincing she sounded. "A little," she said, her voice steady. "But I've never used one in a fight. Cole smiled slightly, that quiet, confident smile that she had seen before. Well, you'll learn. We all do. He handed her the knife, and Maya took it in her hands, feeling its weight. It wasn't like holding a tool on the farm. This was different. This was real. She could feel the power it gave her, and it both frightened and excited her. You've got to trust your instincts, Cole said, stepping back. You can't hesitate. In a fight, hesitation is what gets you killed. Maya nodded, her fingers tightening around the handle. She watched as Cole demonstrated a few basic moves, how to hold the knife, how to move with it. It was all so new to her, and yet it felt natural in a way. She wasn't just learning how to fight. She was learning how to survive. Over the next few days, Maya spent more time with Cole. He was patient with her, showing her how to handle a variety of weapons, knives, rifles, and even hand-to-hand combat. Every lesson she learned, she felt herself growing stronger. Not just physically, but mentally too. She began to understand the rebels' cause, their fight for freedom, for a chance to reclaim what had been taken from them. But through it all, there was something else, something between her and Cole that neither of them spoke about, but both of them felt. Every time they trained together, there was a spark, a connection that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. One evening, after a long day of training, Maya found herself sitting alone by the campfire. The flames flickered, casting shadows on the faces of the rebels who sat around her. Everyone seemed lost in their own thoughts, but Maya couldn't stop thinking about Cole. She hadn't expected to feel this way, but there was something about him. Something that made her feel like she wasn't just another rebel. She was important. She was seen. Suddenly, she felt a presence beside her. She looked up and saw Cole standing there, looking down at her with that calm, steady gaze. "You all right?" he asked, his voice low. Maya nodded, though she wasn't sure she was. "Just thinking." "About what?" "Everything," she replied. "This place. The people. The fight we're in. I never thought I'd be here." Cole didn't say anything right away. He just sat down beside her, the firelight dancing on his face. After a moment, he spoke again. "You're stronger than you think, Maya. You've got more fight in you than you give yourself credit for." Maya looked at him, meeting his eyes. For a moment, the camp, the fire, the whole world seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them. And in that silence, Maya knew in her bones, that this was just the beginning. The fight. The cause. The bond between them. It was all just beginning.